Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to show you guys how I draw rubble slash gravel slash rocky chunks slash I don't have a thesaurus handy, but our example map is the rice paddy, and flanking the elevated paths on this rice paddy are these stones or jumble of rocks, and I'm going to show you how I draw these. They're also handy for like cave systems, just rubble, fallen building rubble, and all of your rubble needs. So my method, the pencil stage, very simple. Say that we have the walls of our cave here. This is our brilliant cave. In the pencil stage, I simply draw in an outline for my rubble, and then I work out the placement of a couple major stones. So I'm getting a text message. So these stones, which I just drew, are kind of the landing point for your eyeballs. They're the focal point, points of interest. All the rest of the rubble we throw in will just be secondary to these cornerstones. That's not how to use that word, but anywho, that's the pencil stage. We'll pretend we've already drawn in the cave walls in pen. Say hello to my new pen, by the way. This one hopefully will not spew ink everywhere. Alright, so rubble stage. I start just by giving these major stones a good solid outline. If they're truly special, I might give them a third dimension, but that's not usually necessary. Especially in cave systems, there's already a lot of activity in the walls when you get your walls going. So I tend to not throw too much activity into the rubble. But like for example, something I've been doing more and more these days is just keeping the rubble simple. So if we look again at our example, this rubble is not simple. This rubble is quite spectacularly complex. Well, complex is the wrong word. It's just it's active. It's jumbled. Whereas I've been doing this kind of simple rubble more and more, which is kind of a silty kind of rubble. That's not what I'm teaching today though. So we've got our major rocks. If you want more activity than we've got here, we're going to do the Rubble Technique, which looks something like this. And I have not scripted any of this, as you've been able to tell already, I bet. So let me try and describe what it is I'm doing with my hand. Essentially, I'm scribbling, is the correct word for it. But in scribbling, I'm making vague circle, round shapes. And just kind of with not a serious pressure on the pen, so we want our major stones to still stand out. We're going to come back to them in a second though. And yeah, you don't want to give this too much thought. Like over here I was thinking a bit too much, and these are very orderly stones, if that makes sense. They're of the same size, and they're just kind of lined up next to each other. The more chaotic you can be at this stage is probably better. Because what we're doing with these maps, you don't want to draw every single stone. Not because it's a pain, but because it's going overboard on the detail, you still leave something to the player's imagination, right? You still want a good element of theatre of the mind, as they call it. So we're trying to suggest to the player's imagination the idea of rubble without giving them a photorealistic picture. So without dragging this video on too much longer, we've scribbled the body of our rubble and then throw in a couple kind of manually placed stones around the edges, just so we don't have a hard line at the edge. That kind of breaks it up. It's more natural looking now. Then those rocks we placed at the start, I like to, with some hatching, like we've done 100 times before, just kind of hatch in where in these shapes we've drawn makes sense for there to be a shadow. So we've just been scribbling, but you can see in our scribble that's kind of a rock shape, that's kind of not a rock shape, so the not rock shape becomes a shadow between two rocks. I really hope this makes sense. But yeah, the idea is around our major rocks we're kind of giving some shadow and making them pop over and above the scribble rocks. And I do the same thing near the edge of the rubble by the wall, because the wall is also a focal point. So focal points deserve special outline, special attention, and that's really what we're doing with the shading stage, is throwing attention on the elements that we want attention to land on. So anyway, I've lost a few of our rocks, I think, but I can count 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, yeah. So, oh yeah, and then I also just throw in some random dust specks / tiny pebbles. And that is our rubble. Let me zoom in for you. There we are. So that's how to draw rubble, specifically like cave rubble / gravel. Although it can be adapted if it's a man-made construction, you can be much more defined with the borderlines. And yeah, use it for pathways, cobblestone walls, cobblestone in general, gravel, rubble, bricks, dragon scales, money, I don't know, all of your D&D needs. Difficult terrain 101. Okay, so that's rubble for today, and I hope you tune in for the next video. If you want a notification, hit that subscribe button. If you liked this video, please leave a like. If you disliked it, please leave a dislike. You know, honesty is important. And leave a comment with what you'd like to see in the future. Alright, I'll see you next time then.